Well, shalom, everybody. Of course, I'm not going to keep saying it, but to the reptilians and the wicked and evil ones, greetings. So just keep that in mind with other videos that I bring. Now, this one here, I want to keep focused on the beard, let's say. I had made a statement here in this video, guillotines are no hide law abomination, and I knew when the statement came out of my mouth, I says, oh boy. Well, anyway, DM was clever enough to catch me on it, and he says, what's wrong with shaving? And to cut down the amount of time that I would need to bring the video, I summarize a little bit here so I can keep a lot of scriptures out of it. And I picked some scriptures that I hope will be able to help. Now, I'm not saying at all that shaving a man's face is a sin in these days, on a believer's face, that is. What I do want to point out is that there's a lot of things that take place out there in the world, you know, some people having a job. Sometimes you can't have a beard, but to have a job, you know, there's not really any shame in doing it for that purpose. But if you're like me and you're disabled and you don't have to go to work for a living, to shave your face, yes, then I'm going to say that if you're a male, I don't even want to get into females that shave or whatever. That's not what I'm speaking of. This is specifically for men. I'm not saying that it's wrong for a woman to shave her armpits or her legs either. You know, those things. It doesn't say it's sinful. In fact, scriptures I'm not really going to get into is where, say, a man had leprosy. And after he was cleansed of being a leper, well, he's supposed to shave all the hair off his entire body. Everywhere the hair is to come off. Same thing as when they would break out into war and gather women from other nations that were allowed to become their wives or whatever. They would even clip their fingernails all the way down, not to where it bled or anything, but they would also shave her hair and such, let it grow back out afterwards. But to shave your face, if you are like I say, disabled, or you don't have to work, if you own your own business as construction or whatever, and you're a believer, you shouldn't shave your beard. It's a thing that was put there. Even when they went into the tomb of, I think it was King Tut, there was a curse put on people, and the only ones that died of it that dug up the tomb, I'm not sure if it was King Tut, I'm thinking it was the curse of King Tut, that the only men that died of it that went into the tomb were those that were clean shaven. The ones that had beards didn't, you know, get affected by it. The beard is for more purpose in the hair than most people realize. Anyway, DM said, what's wrong with shaving? And I say, DM, figures. Man, guess I opened up a can of worms in that one. Well, brother, tell you what. Looks like our king wants me to do a video about it, which I'm doing here. I did one long ago and can't remember which one, almost 300 videos going on now, but for a quick band-aid, let me say that Yosef or Joseph, when he was going before Pharaoh, shaved. But he was a slave at that time, sold by his brothers, and yet he shaved. None of his brothers did, though. But a king or a priest didn't and won't. Just a little trim. Absalom had to pull his head once a year as it weighed way much. Too involved to write out. I will have to get a video about it that you asked. Great job. And it was, DM. Thanks for bringing it up, man. It gave me something to bring a video on for questions that hopefully we'll be able to answer. Says your question qualified to be an upcoming video. Yay, man. I will make it interesting, I hope. Thanks for the comment, bro. Man's work should never be done, and no rest for the wicked. But I am repenting. Can't do it now, like I've been up for over 30 hours and hope to get tired enough to be able to sleep or pass out here shortly or in a while. Well, sometime I will, that's for sure. So anyway, that was my answer. I did get some sleep. That was an excellent question. And I guess what really brought it up was here in Ezekiel, where I had read, and I do want to also reiterate, well, not reiterate, but bring a scripture that I had forgot to bring. I didn't forget. I was reading right down here, and they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and profane, and cause them to discern between the clean and unclean. And then I went off and didn't read this next verse. So I'm going to read up here where the question came from and the statement I made, because the 144,000 are practicing to be priests and kings in the kingdom. The number, no, and it's not no great honor, fellas. It takes a lot to even qualify. And I'm going to bring a video on other things that makes one qualify for this position, or any position in the kingdom for that matters. But why, even out in the church, taking it for an example, you got preachers and then you got the parishioners in the place where they perish. Yeah, they perish. They're in their parishes. But anyway, you've got those that somehow take the authority, and yet they speak lies and deception, and they just collect people's money for them being there and passing these lies and covering and itching people's ears and such. But they don't usually grow beards either, because nobody likes to see a fellow with a beard or long hair in these days so much because of what went on in the 70s. We all got this hippies thing on us and everything, but it has nothing to do with the fads or anything of the land or the people, and we don't follow the crowds into doing evil or anything of this sort. But here in Ezekiel 44:20, it said, "Neither shall they shave their heads, nor suffer their locks to grow long." And that's what you see, with these Jews today. They got caps, had some time. They got these locks sewed into them, so it looks like they've got big long locks. And it says not to have them. And it says they shall only pull their heads, kind of like when Absalom, he pulled his head, he cut it off. It's usually just straight across the back. The beard the same way. When you trim a beard, what you should do is pull it together like this, and you see these stragglies, I should trim that off like that and leave it, and it'll come back, and you don't want to round it. You don't want to do those, what do they call those? Sideburn thing, ham hocks or whatever, or the goatee, or making Mars, things like that in the beard should not be done. Shaving the face, like I say, if you're a man that believes and can do otherwise, could let it grow, but you just prefer to shave, you shouldn't do that, and you should consider your ways. But if you can't because of work or whatever, right now in these days, these things our king is smiling at, he's allowing it. But when the gathering comes, when the 144,000 are sealed and we're brought to a place of gathering, it's not going to be allowed. Right now, the reason I don't do it is because I'm practicing to be a king and priest in the kingdom as one of the 144,000. So I don't ever get a haircut anymore, and I don't shave my beard. I don't even trim my mustache, and sometimes I bite into a sandwich and it pulls my nose over my chin, but I learned to keep it back because I'm a man. But anyway, that's for the priests and such. And let me read down here again, just so that you know the duties of the 144,000 that will be teaching, even the number no man can count, and they'll be doing the same things that we teach them. Okay, so we're all going to be doing the same things. I'm not anything special, and I'm going to bring a video on that. I'll show you what some might consider me special because of, and that's the title that comes with a certain group of individuals that our king calls out in the last days and raises us up through tests and trials and hell and horrors, that abound more than most people could even imagine. And that's on each one of us, of the 144,000. These things take place. But what we're going to ultimately be teaching, and part of it is, the cutting of the hair and such. And a woman should have long hair. That's her glory. I brought a video on that too. Anyway, Ezekiel 44:24 says, "And in controversy they shall stand in judgment. and they shall judge it according to my judgments, and they shall keep my laws and my statutes in all mine assemblies, and they shall hallow the Sabbaths. Okay, so this is speaking of when our King returns. These things will be taking place, but also before our King returns, these things are already being practiced so that when we're in that 1,000-year millennial reign, we'll already be fully trained. And of course, we will be changed at that time as well. Many of the prophets and such, all of them, will be raised and resurrected, and they'll be here doing this too. But those that are alive on the earth today, we're going to be practicing these very things, and the number no man can count is going to be practicing these very things and teaching them as well, because there's going to be regular human beings that are born and they'll live 100 years old and then they'll die. Each one. I mean, these abortions and everything may be raised at the first resurrection. They may be raised in the second. I don't know. I'm thinking more toward the second, but some might be raised in the first. It's hard to say. Well, I tend more to the second. I'm just saying that not to itch people's ears or tickle them, but they've never proved themselves. They were just yanked from their mother's wombs. But they will have an opportunity. Everyone has to have an opportunity to prove themselves that what they desire is the kingdom by keeping the laws and commandments. Just because a baby's born and lives for 3 weeks doesn't mean they're going to be in the first resurrection. They haven't had time to even make up their mind about anything other than they don't like a wet diaper and it hurts when they're hungry. So they'll most likely be in the second resurrection, to where they're going to be nurtured up and showed. But during that millennial reign, and of course they may, I don't know, I really don't, because even during the millennial reign, Satan's going to be chained up for 1,000 years. There's not going to be any sin being allowed at that time. They won't have the urge to be sinning because there's not going to be that temptation there. Principalities of the air and the rulers of the air won't be allowed. Our King will be ruling and reigning with his 144,000, and that number no man can count, will be reigning and rebuilding this earth. But before that time, it's going to be the 144,000's duties to do these things. And there's going to be those of that number will be judges. And they will stand in judgment even when our King comes and sets things up. Okay, but here we got in Deuteronomy 14:1 pertaining to the shaving again. It says, Deuteronomy 14 verse 1, you are the children of Yahweh your father. You shall not cut yourselves nor shave the front of your head for the dead. Now some will say, well, that meant, were they like in Tibet and stuff, where they'll shave off the front part. Well, if you chop someone's head off and you look at the front part, it's this, man. It's the front part from the top to the bottom neck where it got cut off. It is all the front of the head. So we're not to shave the front of our heads for the dead, of course. Okay, now who is the dead? Please recall here where, let me see. Here's our King speaking. Some fellow comes up. Then he said to another, follow me. But he said, Yeshua, let me first go and bury my father. And then Yeshua says to him, let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and preach the kingdom of Yahweh. So when we speak of dead scripturally, the dead bury their own dead. You don't see a skeleton out there, digging a grave to bury the dead. No, if they're not of this understanding, if they don't keep the laws and the commandments, and Yeshua is not the one that they trust in with their whole heart, mind, soul, and might right now, because there's no way other than him to get to the Father to begin with. So if you're not doing these things, you're dead. You're a dead man walking, or a dead woman or child walking. You have no light in you. right now you're dead. And that's how our Father raises us from the graves. You know, we all have a first resurrection going on right now. The day that you first believe, you was being pulled up out of that grave. And now we just have to put on the life, the truth, the path, the way. And like our King said, let the dead bury their own. And here it talked in Deuteronomy. It said, you are the children of Yahweh your Father. You're the children of Yahweh, which means you're keeping the laws and commandments. You became an Israelite. And there are some out there trying to say, well, if you're the 144,000, you got to show me that you are of the tribes. Well, dumbass, you know, don't you even know that 10 of the tribes have no record of them? They were scattered everywhere. You know, that's how they became lost. And you want documentation that they've been found? Well, listen to the words that come from my mouth, and you'll see that some are found. But anyway, you're not supposed to cut yourselves, you know, which was the practice like with the Baal preachers. I think it was Elijah that came, and there were a few hundred Baal preachers, and he told them, you know, you make your sacrifice, I'll make mine. He doused the altar and everything with water, and it was sucked up eventually with the fire. But those men were coming out and cutting themselves for the dead, you know. There's another term for the dead as well, which is Satan and her kingdom. They're dead also. But when you cut yourselves, nor shave the front of your head for the dead, it's for, you know, it's kind of like most of the cops today. It seems like they're shaving their heads, and they're doing it for the dead. They're doing it for the looks of mankind, to put fear in their heart, but they're doing it for men, is what they're doing it for. They have no understanding. So we shouldn't shave, as it says here. But in those days, you have to realize the children had been all gathered together, just like it's going to be, and I was saying, with 144,000 being gathered. When that takes place, and the men won't shave. In those days, they were all gathered together, and it was saying, no, you're not to shave or cut yourself for these dead. Here in Leviticus 13:33 it says, he shall shave himself, but the scale he shall not shave, and the priest shall isolate the one who has the scale. But these are different things that are showing when they had certain diseases and such. That's when they were supposed to shave. Now here in Samuel, I want to show you the importance. Now again, these people were all living together. It's not like it is today. And when so many people read the scriptures, they read them as if it was taking place in the society that we're in right now, and it wasn't. Like in Jerusalem, they didn't even allow pork to be there, you know? So when our king was speaking, it don't matter what goes in the mouth. He was talking to everyone that was keeping the law, and they already knew that when he said it don't matter what you put in your mouth, that he was speaking only of clean things. He didn't have to bring up not to eat pork, because none of them were. It wasn't even allowed there, you know? And when the sheep came down for Kepha, and Kepha said, hey, I never ate anything that was unclean. I never put it in my mouth. This was years after Yahshua had already died and risen and went to our Father. And Kepha's still saying, no, I never put nothing bad in my mouth, no unclean thing. And then it came out later that he was being called out to Cornelius. But when you're in a gathering of people like they did in Israel, they were Israelites lived there. They all had beards. They all had mustaches. They let their hair grow down to the proper length. And they only would trim it if necessary, like Absalom. I mean, his hair was so long, probably was almost dragging the floor, the amount of weight that was there with it. And he was getting headaches and everything from it, so once a year he would pull it. Okay, so here we got Samuel. I don't know how they got back to Ezekiel. Maybe I clicked on it. But anyway, King David sends off some of his men to console the king about his father's death. Now, where was I here? Shoot. I knew I lost. Okay, here we are up here. But anyway, it talks. It occurred after this that the king of the people of Ammon died, and Hunan his son reigned in his place. And David said, I will show kindness to Hunan, the son of Nahash, as his father showed kindness to me. So David sent by hand of his servants to comfort him concerning his father. And David's servants came into the land of Ammon. And the princes of the people of Ammon said to Hunan, their king or whatever, do you think that David really honors your father because he has sent comforters to you? Has David not rather sent his servants to you to search the city, to spy it out, and to overthrow it? Therefore Hunan took David's servants. He listened to the counsel of these wicked people when David was showing kindness. So the servants David sent, it says here, therefore Hunan took David's servants. They shaved off half of their beards. They shaved off half of their beards, and they cut off their garments in the middle at their buttocks and sent them away. Now these people, man, they've had a beard their whole life. Got half of it cut off. It's like, dang. So anyway, here in 2 Samuel 10:5, it says, when they told David, he sent to meet them because the men were greatly ashamed. And David said, the king said, now listen to what he says here, and I'm going to pose a question. It says, wait at Jericho until your beards have grown, and then return. I mean, if shaving is all right, and it's even all right in the body of believers that are living amongst them, where the men all had beards, because our father has a beard, Joshua had a beard, and they shaved it off in the middle. Why didn't David just say, hey guys, don't worry about it, just shave the rest of the beard off? He didn't. He told them, he says, wait at Jericho until your beards have grown, till they grow back out to match the rest of your beard. Wait there until this takes place. So there's got to be an importance behind the beard. And there are things, we have not seen or heard yet, but they're going to be. But anyway, each of us have to make up our decision on these. There's a lot more in Scripture pertaining to beards and such. The prophets and the saints, they all had beards. Joshua had beards. Yahweh had a beard. There's got to be a reason for it. Of course, in Egypt, it was custom that they shaved the head and the faces and everything, and they would glue little goatees on the pharaohs and such, but they didn't grow them themselves. Now, of course, you had Nimrod even, but he was way back when everybody had a beard still. When Noah got off the ark and his 3 sons, and they had beards. I don't think their wives did, or Noah's wife. They could have. I don't know. It's hard to say. There have been some people that I knew that were female that shaved, and I don't condemn them for it. It's but the thing is, the more you shave, the more you grow. So they say. But anyway, everyone has to make their own decision now, whether or not you're going to grow a beard as you're commanded. If you have the opportunity to do so and choose not to, then you got to work it out with your king. I'm not going to judge you here. But when we are gathered together and sealed on a day that's going to be horrible, I mean, the earth is going to quake, and it's going to shake, and it's going to be split. And then you'll know that the servants have been healed. And after that, when we're gathered and the whole world says, hey, let us go up to the house of Yahweh, then, my friends, if you choose to live among us, you'll keep every one of these laws and commandments, or you'll be judged by them. Of course, there isn't much penalty for somebody that doesn't want to grow a beard if they're a male. They can basically live off with where maybe lepers or whatever are at until they change their mind. But a man will be a man, and I'm not saying you're not a man if you're shaving to keep a job or whatever. But if you're shaving because you don't want a beard and you can grow one, you're permitted at this time to do so, then you keep shaving because you're not a man. It's quite that simple. I love y'all. I pray our King will open our minds to his understanding, not our own, but these words are in these scriptures, and times are changing. It's coming on us, and it's coming pretty swiftly. Do not sign the papers for the Noahide laws. Even though I would stand here and deny the Jesus Christ right now and sign anything that I do, but I don't deny Yahshua. Okay, so don't try to find a back door into signing those papers. Love y'all, and shalom.